Hello, everybody. Too bad. I can't see my new fancy emotes in Streamlabs. Let's try this. Yo! Yeah! Somebody in the morning class suggested I get with the times and add some of the better TTV emotes, so we now have more. I believe I'm supposed to start with this one. What was with the section 2 stream at 10? Is that another class? Yeah, so I have section 1 and section 2 of software engineering. So section 2 is at 10 a.m., section 1 is now. So if for whatever reason you miss one day, I'm trying to keep them approximately about the same time. Or same content. So basically 10 a.m., 1 p.m. should be about the same content. Let's pretend I'm a video game streamer playing the same game over and over again. No, not that I would. Not that I would stream games or anything like that. Never do that live. That's just irresponsible, etc. Oh. No, we're not gonna die on stream. Anyway. Hi, everybody. Okay. It's enough Zelda and chill for now, I think. Howdy. Hello, sad cat. So today I've got some... I used to play the crap out of our Realm of the Mad God. Oh, that's awakening some memories now. I stopped playing right around the time that it was after Kablam bought them. That was some good stuff. I honestly, so I logged in over the summer just to see what was going on, and it is so busy in the lobbies there now with stuff. Like, I think they had just added pets when I was kind of petering off there. That was fun. That kind of game is honestly that's my thing. Roguelike with bullet hell elements. That speaks to me. I love it. I did not like when they started soul binding all of the items so you couldn't trade for like the better rings and all that fun stuff. There's actually, if anybody likes that kind of game, there is a tutorial series for how to do a Realm clone in Java. I'd have to dig that one up if anybody was interested, but yeah. So today, to actually talk about what we're doing in class, so we're gonna talk about ethics. This should be kind of the last of the soapboxing. I think I mentioned that at 10 if you were paying attention to that one instead of this one. But basically, this is what we should be doing as engineers. And then next time, we're going to be getting more into the pure software engineering topics. So housekeeping stuff, I updated the syllabus. So this is for 2. You are all section 1. Basically, it applies to everybody. So I took your survey results. I looked at them all. um, between the two sections, and it was overwhelmingly in favor of project-based. There were some who didn't care, which is fine. Um, and if you have any concerns about that, we can talk about it, offline or anything like that. But basically, it should be easier on you in terms of content, in terms of effort. Basically, my best advice is going to be keep up with the homework, keep up with the term project, keep up with the in-class assignments. That's basically your participation. And you should be fine. So just do the work and you should be okay, honestly. If you start falling behind and you're having problems again, please let me know and we can figure something out. And another thing too, so you have an assignment. It's that part one of the GitLab that's due Friday night. And after that is done, I will release the second half of the assignment where basically your teams will start coming together and forming an idea for what you want your project to be. There's also going to be an aspect of getting up and running with GitHub. So Friday, at some point during the lecture, I will do a demo of what our Git environment's going to look like. And I don't care what tool you use. I don't care what operating system you're on. GitHub will work on any of them. So I will do everything in the terminal. You are welcome to use the tool. I will put some instructions for installing in basically the lab manual kind of thing. But yeah, you should be fine with whatever operating system you're using. So project-based, what does that mean? Again, I updated the syllabus, sent out the note. What that means is that we are not going to have a midterm, we are not going to have a final. And all that means is that instead of that time, that block for doing the exam, we're going to replace it with term project stuff. So for the midterm, it'll basically be like a project touch point where you give me a status update on where you're at. And I'll give you the formatting of what I'm expecting for that. So probably be like a short little video or a short little, if you want to try it live, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to go live. You can record something and stitch it together. Not too difficult, but basically I'll give you some heads up of what I'm looking for there. And then for the final exam, since we have to do something during that time slot, we'll do your project final demos, final presentations, things like that. And if you're concerned about deliverables, everything, basically your whole package is usually due the last official day of class is what I typically make that. So I'll give you again some heads up of what I'm going to be looking for in terms of everything when we get closer to that. So, anything else change on the syllabus? Oh, so the only other thing too is that I updated the schedule so I'm sure you're all aware by now, we don't have fall break anymore. We're going to have class during the time that fall break would have existed based on the current university policy. So you might see that in here that we don't have fall break anymore. Basically everything's online following fall break. So I'll give you some heads up when I'm looking for stuff, basically. Anybody have any questions on the format of the course, concerns, questions, anything like that at all? All good so far? Sure, I'm not missing anybody here. Okay, that's right. I wanted this up here too. All right, my bot's telling me that we're here. Okay, so all good. Awesome. Thanks. You're not even in this class. Awesome. Uh-oh, my mouse is gonna die. Boop. Okay. So, other than that, oh, one other thing too. So I haven't looked at your assignments from last night yet. If you are not any project group, please advertise or mention it in the general channel and try to pick up a group before then. Again, I kind of want you to work on something you're interested in. If you don't have anything by Friday evening, I will probably just either randomly assign you or I will try to see and look at the private chats for the various teams, see what they're working on, and try to match you if I can. So if you have a team and you could use another person, I know there are people that are still looking for groups. Feel free to offer a spot to them. And the odds are if you have a smaller group and there's somebody looking for a group, you'll probably get some new people coming up if they haven't found anything by then. So project teams, keep that in mind as well. One other thing too, so this worked pretty well earlier, and we're going to do this again. So if you're in Discord here, I don't want to be in group 3. I want to be here. So I created some rooms on the side. So there's this 350 session 1 or section 1 at 1 p.m. Basically, at the end of the lecture, I'm going to have you all join one of these rooms and you'll do your in-class assignment that way. And this worked out really well for me because I could just click the various channels and give you feedback rather than dinging around with breakout rooms. And this actually seemed to work out pretty well. So I'm hoping it works out okay for you all as well. Basically, you're going to have an in-class assignment to do, and that assignment is going to be due tomorrow at midnight. So again, it goes to the whole flexibility thing. In-class assignments are not due right at the end of class. I'm going to give you some extra time to make sure that everything is in order. But for that one, well, we'll get to that later on in class. So, my slime. Awesome. Just getting stuff together. So ethics. So this is, again, something more or less what you should be doing. Super important if you are going to be doing any kind of engineering, any kind of software development. By and large, what you create is going to impact others. And the point of today is, again, it's not to like scare you straight. We already did that. However, what we're going to do today is talk about ethics in terms of businesses, in terms of you on a project team, you as a continually developed engineer, what your expectations are for that kind of thing. So we have some more on ethics. We have some case studies. I want to say that you all got an ethics requirement for your degree, I think. So that's also why we're talking about this. If not, ignore me. But for some reason, I was thinking that you needed this as part of your degree program. Anyway, so what are ethics? We can talk about morality, we can talk about ethical obligations, but basically this is you doing the best that you can possibly do and not intentionally doing anything bad. So we can talk about ethics in terms of like not being incompetent at your job, not making poor decisions, not being lazy. All of these things factor into what ethics are. And I cannot stress this enough. I probably am repeating myself from the morning, which, if we were in separate classes, nobody would notice, but we have videos evidence, so there's that. But anybody can program these days, right? It's super easy to go out on Khan Academy or Udemy or YouTube tutorials and just download a tutorial and follow through it blindly. Cool, I made an app, I made a program. You need to understand the implications of what doing that is, right? Again, simple hello world, fine, you're not really hurting anybody. But if you make an app, if you make, you download an AI model and you don't actually understand what you're doing, there can be some causes for concern here. So ethics is basically going to be, are you functioning morally? Are you not only considering yourself, but the people that you impact, your project team, so on and so forth. So that's what are ethics, and then a little bit more here. Yes, we have emotes. So this is a really good example of kind of contextualizing this. So ethics mean you have to do the right thing. When I was teaching systems administration, doing the right thing meant not snooping on people's credit cards, not snooping on people's personal emails, that kind of thing, because honestly, you will have access to all of that information as a sysadmin. Now, as a software engineer, sometimes it's good to think of features of requirements, use cases, things that you're developing, and maybe you have some reservations about it, right? It's not an obvious, we need a login box, okay? But I need to add a feature. if you have any question about it, ask yourself, is it right to add X feature? Let me give you an example. Um, and again, if you're from the 10 a.m. class, exact same example here. I am developing the next great, let's see what Dr. DeVries is telling me here. I'm developing the next great phone app, okay? It is, I used the example of a scheduling app this morning. Maybe let's go with something like a home automation tool, or, I'm slowly building up my bookcases in here. I'm organizing my library. Okay, so I've got a nifty phone app that's going to keep track of everything for me. Well, you as the developer can request whatever permissions that you want from the device, right? And then people are going to say, okay, this wants to read write, this wants access to this, this, and this, accepts, and then I have access to that. I'm sure we're all impacted by applications that just request everything, right? And that makes sense for something that's going to be taking pictures, it's going to be accessing files, maybe recording your voice. Okay, it needs microphone access, it needs camera access. But if I am just organizing books or notes or something like that, why do you need my microphone? Why do you need my camera? Right? And the problem is that people, by and large, they're not like you. You are all engineers, you're all developers, you think through these things a little bit, okay, I'm not just going to blindly accept the terms of service. I might scan it and see if there's anything weird in there. I'm sure you all have an app where it's a silly game. Like there's an Android game that I was playing where it wanted video and microphone access, and it was just like a downhill skier kind of thing. So easy uninstall for me. However, people are just going to click allow. Yes, 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 fine, fine, just get to my thing. Who cares, right? So this is a massive invasion of your privacy, but there's nothing legally or structurally wrong with that. It's an ethical problem here, right? So is it right to record all of your information and maybe sell it off to advertisers later on? Ethically, I would say absolutely not, but people will make that decision themselves, right? And the problem is that people are trusting you, the engineer, the developer, to be making valid decisions here, right? So does this make sense? Basically, we're getting into kind of the gray area of software development. And you have to keep in mind too that, again, this is something that you can do. It's up to you to be a good person, effectively. Now, why do we talk about this? Why am I hammering on this? You're not going to be getting this in a lot of your other classes, more or less, and it depends on the class and the teacher, of course. I'm not saying this is the end all be all. Obviously, it's the best class in the world. You're all here. But you're just going to be taught how to do X technical thing. It's going to be up to you, the human being, to figure out if it's right to be doing this. In olden days, I'm sure you all remember those lovely old dot matrix printers where it was all mechanical. You have the little rip away strips where it feeds it through. You used to be able to set those printers on fire using C, which could be a lot of fun. Basically, those would all collect paper shrapnel inside of it, and you could send commands to continually grind the printer head against the edge of it, which eventually would cause a spark and set the machine on fire, which could be interesting as a demo, but horribly unethical if you're in a business environment. So the point is that you have immense power at your hands, even if you don't realize it, or you think programming is trivial because everybody can do it now. So keep in mind that no matter what decisions you make, it's going to involve or lead to consequences, happiness, work satisfaction, many, many, many things are all going to tie into making good decisions as you go. Now, you as the developer, the engineer, the project manager, quality assurance person, whatever role you end up in, your decisions, no matter how small, are going to build up over time, right? So let's think of something in terms of public trust, and I think we're actually going to be getting to that in a little bit. So maybe I'll hold off on that point. But your decisions that you're making are going to affect society. So let's maybe talk about Facebook for a minute. This is a fun little case study in this regard. Starts off, no matter, I never saw the movie, The Social Network. I don't know how accurate that is. Starts off as a silly web application to link people together at a university, right? Um, Obviously, there are some unethical things going on, depending on how it's portrayed and, where the news is coming from for that. But it has started as a simple, super simple web application. Now it is a political powerhouse, more or less, right? Not just sharing kid pictures. Now we're promoting political agenda and basically advertising, and it's all become this behemoth. And it all started with decisions, little tiny decisions early on. And you can also see this with a company like Google. Now, I have no idea where they stand currently, but their original motto was what? Do no harm or something like that, or always be. I don't remember what their exact thing was, but that was removed from their company byline for a while. It's a good to think about reverse engineering applications like TikTok. I heard there are some unethical aspects of how it collects info. I think this is a very pivotal application. That's a very good point. So I don't know the full, like, I can't speak from any kind of an expert perspective, but everything I hear about TikTok is negative. It's why it's just Vine 2.0, right? But it's collecting a lot of really weird, unrelated data that it doesn't need. So yeah, things like TikTok, Google Home, Amazon Echo, these all kind of freak me out with all the monitoring capabilities they have on you. Just ban all applications. There you go. Hey, I mean, the features of TikTok may be fine. It's just the stuff going on behind the scenes to fund it are that's the unethical aspect, right? Maybe my understanding of TikTok is it's the next iteration of Vine, right? So it's just so bizarre to me because that's a great ethical quandary here, right? You have this wonderful app that millions of people are using now, but the decisions behind the scenes, that's where the ethicality comes into play, right? I'm collecting all this information. Here's all of the advertisers and governments lining up to buy that data because it's just this big nebulous package of everything I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And yeah, it's like Vine with a good suggestion algo. Oh, here you go. That's pretty much everything, right? That's let's iterate on things. Ethics in game development. Ooh, that's a good point. Let's talk about EA. Let's talk about the okay, let's talk about both types of EA, electronic access or electronic arts and early access. Some very interesting ethical quandaries there. ePay. We could go back to the original one. That's the horse DLC for Oblivion, right? But so the whole game development thing's actually kind of interesting because the early access side of things, at least, that's a design paradigm. It's the rapid prototyping with basically A/B testing thrown in, where you have your users giving you your runtime feedback, and it's interesting and it's bad for morale for the gamers. Anyway, so let's get past the fluffy stuff here and let's actually talk about this in terms of professional ethics, right? So why this is important for you and why we haven't gotten into hard software engineering yet is that you are the expert in this field at this point, meaning you have special responsibilities as a engineer. Okay, consider yourselves an engineer, whether you like the idea or not. You're a programmer, I'm a computer scientist. You're still an engineer because you are making systems that impact people and you are critically thinking through these things. All right, so if you make this, you made TikTok, okay? Um, Whatever ends up happening behind the scenes with the business side of things, you have now impacted millions to billions of people, right? And you're impacting others too, the people that haven't installed it. I'm still being tracked tertiarily, I suppose, because I'm the black hole, but I'm detected in other people's videos, right? So, foul language, uh-oh. Moderator's kicking up here. Auto mod anyway. Not sure what it's blocking. It sometimes finds normal words and blocks them. Anyway, I've got three little points here. You can cause great harm through dishonesty, carelessness, or incompetence. So, dishonesty. Okay, so neat. We have our first troll ever. Uh, let's time out. One moment. All right, sorry about that. First time I've ever had to mute somebody. So hopefully you weren't in my class. If you were, yeah, I'm guessing that is just a troll account there. If it comes back and starts doing that, if you were in class and that was you, never do that again. Okay. We'll kick you out. You have to watch the video separately. That pisses me off. Anyway, um, don't be dishonest, don't be careless, don't be incompetent. Okay, these are three things which are not necessarily linked. Well, they are linked, but they can happen unintentionally. So dishonesty, obviously, that's intentional, right? I'm lying. I'm trying to make that ad revenue. But you can be careless or incompetent, right? So if you're careless, that means you're lazy and you're letting things through. And we'll actually, talk about some of that. And if you're incompetent, that means that you're not right for the job, and it means that you could be causing harm simply by ignoring things or not being technically proficient enough to handle it, right? So this all filters into ethics here. So from the the professional side of things, the IEEE ACM, two organizations which I'm sure have been trying to recruit you to join them since you've started at Grand Valley, have come up with a set of principles here. So you should be acting as a developer, software engineer, in terms of all of these various interests. So the public eye, your employer's eye, the client's eye, your own eye, your colleagues. Basically, you should be ethically on board with all of these various aspects, and they all have a slightly different focus. All right. This is not a simple algorithm where you check off, I satisfied the public like me, my boss likes me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, it's more of again, a guideline, things you need to consider here. Okay, so the public. You should always act in the public's interest. You should not be trying to subvert their expectations, or you should not be trying to subvert their trust. Your client and your employer, you should be acting in their interests as well while maintaining public's trust, the public's interest, right? So if your employer wants you to do something which is not good, hopefully they have a way, to resolve this, whether anonymously or raise your voice in meetings that this is not right, we can't be doing this, and hopefully you don't get fired for that. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about that in the news as well, but we're going to have a lot of competing interests here, and it's not always clear who to follow. Your products you release should meet the highest standards possible. They should be all validated, verified, and not, again, go off the rails in terms of what they can and can't do. Use your best judgment. You should be managing your software development process appropriately, right? You shouldn't be cutting corners with our huge, massive process because there are a reason these steps are in place. Okay, unit testing sucks, but we should do it in order to ensure correct output. Doing user studies if we have to. You have to deal with people. It's the worst thing in the world. I hate it. But if you don't get people's feedback, then how are you going to know if your app is, able to be used correctly? Yeah. So act in terms of your professional interest. You don't want to basically denigrate or make software engineers worldwide look horrible. Be fair and supportive of your colleagues. Should be self-evident, right? Be nice to other people, treat them fairly and with respect, and ideally they will do that in return to you, right? Uh, I try to treat you all like adults, and that you're all good colleagues in this class with me. Hopefully that kind of filters through to your everyday lives. Now that's kind of my little thing here. When you get in the workplace, everybody, give them the benefit of the doubt, so on and so forth. Last thing here, which I find really interesting from an ethical perspective, is self-ethics. So you should, as an engineer, obviously doing the right thing, everything we've been talking about so far, but you should be continually learning, continually improving yourself. Is it good to know whether an employer's terms for hiring could be shady? So there are definitely some guidelines and laws for what they can and cannot ask you when they hire you. Things like, it's been a while since I've looked at HR guidelines. It's been a long time since I've had to hire people. But things like if you're a mother, if you are a father, if your religious affiliation, your political affiliation, whether personal beliefs, all of these like personal things, they're not allowed to ask you. Um, are you willing to work unpaid for 80 hours a week? That's also not legal. So it's good to know I mean, it's good to know the process in general, honestly. But if employers are asking you really personal, weird things, that should definitely throw up a red flag, in my opinion. Everybody's situation will be different, but you as a employee should not have to put up with a negative or adverse environment. That would be my thing. Um, yeah, hopefully you're not running into that, and if you are, hopefully there's other opportunities or people you can talk to. So to this last point, though, you should always be improving yourself, right? You need to keep up with the state of the art of what's going on in your field. I suck, buddy. Sorry to say. Cool. Thanks. I've been found out by somebody. Ooh, and you don't exist. Neat. Okay, fun. I've been streaming on Twitch since the middle of last semester in winter, and it's the first time I'm getting people hopping in. I must be hitting an algorithm or something like that where I'm getting noticed. Fun. Um, anyway, keep yourself up to date, right? So if you have any kind of technology that needs to use AI, if you need to use machine learning, if you need to do something above and beyond what you should keep yourself at least relevant in those fields. Know the terms, understand the technologies and what you have to do to use them, right? So I used this example in class this morning too, but I also like to continue learning. And part of that for me is to use your term projects as an opportunity to learn something myself. I make I don't hide it that I enjoy roguelike games, procedurally generated games. So I'm trying to learn some new technologies to help me write code for procedurally generated content. Um, so one of those things is something called Bearlib Terminal, where the documentation is basically non-existent. However, there are lots of really cool examples out there. So for instance, here is a demo program where, okay, I'm learning how to write text. Here's tiles. I can make little doll cutouts for characters if you're familiar with that term. I can use fonts, which is lots of fun. I can do dynamic sprites. So here's a little dungeon. Again, this is their demo program. But here's a randomly generated, or it's not random. This one is hand coded, but you can do the procedurally generated dungeons, and there's all the tiles. I also have little window panes. We have a mini map. Can be resized, however, not great. So basically, there's lots of these things that are out there. I don't know how to use this technology, so I'm going to use your term project time to force myself to do it. And what that means is that I will be creating requirements with you. I'll be doing use cases with you. I'll be trying to make the demo checkpoints, but it's less important for me since I have to be more focused on giving you all a good lecture and whatnot. But another thing I'm really interested in is story-generated games. So what I'm also trying to do, and this is kind of the little early demo for my thing here, is that I'm trying to figure out how to do procedurally generated story. So right now I have this little @ symbol moving around. We have a non-player character that is clearly wanting to be talked to, and it does variations of hello world when you interact with it. So this is all generated text from something called Tracery, which I think I mentioned various points, but it's really cool. It's a grammar-based generator. And if you're interested at all in what this looks like, basically here I have some RIP. Let's not do that. Zoom in a bit. So this is the rule set just from the Python demo. I haven't modified this at all, but basically it's a grammar. So hello something. So here's all the various forms of hello. Here's all the locations. So your simple hello world, obviously. But this can store player names. It can store attributes. It can do all kinds of crazy things. So my goal is to learn this. So continual learning, that's my little spiel. Last semester when I was trying to learn Unity, I was doing, fun ball rollers and physics sims, and this seems a little bit more my speed, honestly. Not super great with 3D programming yet. So, questions so far, other than from the people randomly popping in and telling me I'm a horrible person? Have you heard of AI? I have heard of AI Dungeon. That's actually, I haven't played it, but the idea of using something like that in the game is really interesting to me. The other thing too, though, and again, I'm going to talk about games. Take this and apply it to your Java application. If you're doing a scheduler, or apply it to your phone app that you're making, whatever you have. Dude, Call of Duty is horrible. Come on now. We play ancient roguelikes in here. Anyway, but yeah, AI Dungeon is really, really interesting. Call of Duty sucks. Um, Quake 3. Yep, awesome. I'm gonna have to nominate one of you in class to be a moderator, possibly. I am old. I've got white beard hairs here. If we are going to do first-person games in here, it's going to be Team Fortress or Quake 3. It's about my limit. My reflexes are dying out here. I'm gonna have for extra credit. There we go. Yeah. Anyway, so let's go back to Thurek a little bit. I know you all did the homework assignment with this. We talked about how this was a horrible tragedy. Yeah, I mentioned TF2 every semester in class. Somebody invariably runs a TF2 server for a term project for like my sysadmin classes I used to teach. And it amazes me how bad I am at that game now. I used to be really, really good, and now I'm really, really bad at it. Anyway, so you all reflected on this in your homework. I'm not going to beat this one to death, but basically, we have a couple more things we could talk about in terms of our ethics. So we have the professional side of things, right? So your institutional culture. Again, keep in mind, this is late 80s, early 90s, so we're still figuring out the software development process. There was no notion of independently reviewing the source code. So not only did we take something wholesale from another system, plop it onto this new one, we never reviewed it to make sure there was no hidden failures going on. So there was no real good assessment. We weren't believing user complaints. We weren't doing any integration testing. So there's so many points of failure here ethically. Another thing too, we didn't really talk about this in class, and I didn't read the homeworks yet, but the user experience was bad too, right? So the error codes were like malfunction 01. That means nothing to a user, right? Remember that nurses and doctors were using this machine. Malfunction 0D means nonsense to them, right? And I know that you're limited generally in terms of what you can see on a display with hardware, especially when we're just using like 7-segment displays. But nobody's going to know what this is. And it's going to be up to you as the developer, as the engineer, to communicate what the problem is to your user. Right now, we have the benefit of making like a phone pop up or an alert saying this software has encountered this error. Please do this to resolve it. But malfunction X, all of a sudden the amount of radiation you're blasting at a patient is way too high. That's really hard to tell. So there are basically a whole lot of problems going on here. And if you think about this ethically, you can almost tick off every single professional ethical group, ethical category that is having problems here, right? So that's kind of why we keep talking about ethics, is that little decisions will build up over time, right? We didn't take into account unexpected inputs. That is one function where we made the decision. No hardware interlocks. That's a bigger decision that we made to remove it for budget concerns. However, again, these things build up over time, and you end up with a case study that every software engineering class in the world probably will talk about. So, with that, so that's pretty much it for ethics. Now, what I'd like you to all to do, and let's try this again for one last time talking about ethics and case studies for this, is that I want you all to just randomly split up into groups. So again, I created these 4 rooms in the Discord channel here. So here's your 1 p.m. group here, or folder. Pick group 1, 2, 3, or 4. Don't care which one you go in. Don't care how many are in a room. All I'm asking you to do is to read this case study, and I'll come back to it. I want you to nominate one person from each group and upload the answers to the Blackboard assignment link. Make sure that you have everybody's name. Please do full name if you can, just because I haven't linked up everybody's Discord to real name. And then submit your answers to these questions. So who is at fault? Why are they at fault? What should have been done differently? And basically, answer these 3 questions. It doesn't have to be long paragraphs, just the highlights of your chat, basically. This is an in-class assignment. You have a full day, so due tomorrow at midnight. And what I would like you all to talk about is the Challenger explosion in your groups. So I'm sure you're all, old enough to remember the space shuttle that exploded. So 73 seconds after launch, it blows up, basically. All lives on board were lost. The reason that it happened was because O-rings that were used in a seal were inappropriate for the temperature at the time of launch. So basically, we have some engineering and business decisions being made here, which led to this problem. So again, what I'm looking for from you all, and I'll leave that slide up for you all to talk about, who's at fault, why are they at fault, what should have been done differently. And if we look at the Blackboard page, so I've got it up there for you as well. So again, just one person submit, please, for everybody. Make sure all your names are on it. It is in the class sessions, intro ethics and Git, all the way at the bottom. Just submit that. Any questions? Anybody have any issues with this? Again, I'll leave this up for you all to talk about. Missing overbar in its code creation. That I don't honestly remember, but if that's something you're aware of, feel free to talk about that. Thank you, Justin. Aren't you just the best? One of my students from Oakland is now using his mod powers appropriately. Thank you so much. Have to throw some bits your way if you ever stream. Okay, so what I can do is pop through the conversations. Hey, group 2's doing stuff. Group 3, group 4. Yep, so I'll just feel free to talk. You can't view the channels in Discord. You should be able to, they're public. So it's this 350 S1 1 p.m. Frosty. Frosty? Frosty? Nobody's in group 1. Poor group 1. Sorry, group 2, you're gonna be my awesome. How are we supposed to submit? Yeah, just submit it. Just make up a little Word doc or PDF or whatever you want. That's fine. Let's put our hype music back up so that it's not just dead air. Because I know, sorry, let me pull up the correct screen. Get that YouTube copyright strike. Just submit one per group is all you have to do. You will have, turn this down a little bit. You'll have an unsubmitted assignment until I grade them all, but yeah, just one per group is fine. With your names on it, yes. Yeah, so Josh, just join wherever you want. That's fine. Oh, sorry, I'm hiding the slide. No, my bad. There we go. Slide is up on Blackboard as well, but I meant to be showing this for you. Sorry about that, Jack. Or group 1. Hmm. And for those of you thinking about something like this, somebody in the morning class posted a link. There is a follow-up article with one of the engineers who worked on this, and he felt horrible about it for his entire life afterwards. So these kinds of things happen. It's not always obvious that it's going to be a problem until it is. This is what you're all getting yourselves into. Trying to figure out if it's a good thing or not, if it's an achievement that I've gotten trolls on stream, or if it's a a sorry state of things. I'm not sure. Sub only chat means I've made it. Crap. Now I need to turn on monetization, right? Get that sweet ad revenue. Yeah, absolutely. I knew it was gonna happen at some point. How are things going over on the east side of the state, Justin? Cold and wet. Same here. Yeah. Are you still working for the Twitch streamer that you were working with before when you were with me? Cool. How's that going? Trying to get an actual job. Good luck. Well, if you need a recommendation, drop me an email and you can add me to your list or resume. It's more trolls than I've ever had, too, so I get the benefit of having numbers in terms of students who are subscribed, but also make sure to turn off everything bits and donation and raid related so that it doesn't, ethically, so that it doesn't turn out bad. Speaking of which, if any of you are Twitch streamers too, feel free to drop me your Twitch name. I'm at least happy to follow you, if that helps at all. Alright, so class is pretty much over. Let me go ahead and soften this. So yeah, just get that submitted by tomorrow night at midnight. Most important thing is just have all your names on it so that I know who's who. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So Friday, we're gonna get into some of the actual software engineering. It's gonna be a little bit drier probably. We'll also do a Git demo, and I'll show you what you're gonna be working with. And homework's due Friday night, don't forget that. And either this weekend or Monday, I'll release the next part of the assignment as well. Anyway, hope you all had a decent class. Yeah, I will see you all on Friday. So we all don't have to submit. So Hammer, no, we do not. Just one person per group has to submit, but all the names should be on it. Git, you will have to download. It's going to be up to you what you download. I don't care which software as long as it will work. I'll give you some guidelines and ideas, basically. If you're on Windows, you can, there's multiple options, basically. So we'll talk about that on Friday a little bit as well. Hopefully, I mean, worst case, this is just helpful knowledge to have for future projects. I assume you're gonna have to use it for senior projects or sophomore projects if you have to do that or anything like that. And honestly, I've started putting all of my project. Ooh, Gungeon's fun. I'll watch that. Anyway, I should let you all go. Otherwise, I'm the guy who kept you past class time. Anyway, okay, so yeah, class is officially over. Yeah, have a good rest of your afternoon. I'll see you all on Friday.